Hey everyone, welcome to the Pre-algebra 1.3 video. Today we are talking all about order of operations. Alright, so for years you guys have been hearing about PEMDAS. I thought this was pretty funny. Keep calm and remember PEMDAS. Well, keep calm and remember, actually I'm going to change one thing here and I'm going to call that GEMDAS. Okay, so some of you have heard, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. We're going to use golly, excuse my dear Aunt Sally, or gosh, excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Now, what does GEMDAS stand for? Well, PEMDAS was parentheses, exponents, multiply, divide, add, subtract. Everything is staying the same except for the G. Okay, so you might be wondering, well, what does the G stand for? Well, G is going to stand for grouping symbols. G-R-O-U-P-I-N, it's a G. Symbols. Okay, so what's a grouping symbol? Well, I will grant you that parentheses are a grouping symbol. But so are brackets. And so are fraction bars. Okay, that'd be a fraction bar like x over y, right? Something over another thing. So we need to make sure that we're not just saying, oh, parentheses are the only thing we do first, because sometimes we might have a fraction bar and we might have some brackets, and we'll get more into that. And so next, of course, we have E, which stands for exponents. All right, so if you have, 4 squared minus 3, well, you better do the 4 squared first. So that would be 16. Then minus 3 would, of course, be 13. All right. So next, we have multiplication and division. Okay, I'm going to write them like this. And I do that because multiply or divide. Because we need to do whichever one comes first. Okay, so if we have 4 divided, we'll do 14 divided by 2 times 3. Okay, we need to do whichever one's first. So 14 divided by 2 would give me 7. We multiply it by 3, oops, and that would give you then 21. Now, if you did it the other way, what would happen? 14 divided by 2 times 3. If we did 14, let's see, 2 times 3 and did 6 there. Well, that'd be like saying 14 divided by 6. Well, 14 divided by 6, it's definitely not going to be 21. It would be, let's see, well, 14 divided by 6, we go in there twice, that'd be 12. We get 2, decimal, bring down a 0. Goes into 23 times and get 18, subtract to get a 2, and so bring down another 0, be 3 again. So it actually would be 2.3 repeating. But here we got 21. So the rule is you need to do whichever one comes first. So multiply or divide, say whichever comes first. Okay. Now, let's move on to add, subtract. And of course with this one, it's also whichever one comes first. And the reason for that is this. So let's say we have the problem 14 minus 5 plus 2. All right, I'm going to do it the right way first, okay? And that'd be taking 14 minus 5 plus 2. So this is, do a little green check mark here for this is good, okay? So let's see, 14 minus 5. Well, the minus comes first, so I do that. So that's 9 plus a 2. And of course, 9 plus 2 is 11. Now, the reason we don't do it this way is because, this other way, is because we fall into temptation. Okay, 14 minus 5 plus 2. And we might say, let's do plus first. And that's going to be, well, 15 minus, well, 5 plus 2. That right there gets you 7. So let's see. So 15, oh, I should have done 14. I'm sorry, guys. We'll do 14 here and 14 there. 14 minus 7 is 7. But we have a problem because here we got 11 and there we got 7. This is what went wrong, okay? If we did addition first, what we would have to do is keep in mind whose sign, or what sign does 5 have? We would say that 2 is positive, right? Wouldn't we also say that this 14, I know it looks like a 15, this 14 here is also positive? Yeah. Now, there wasn't a sign to the left of 14, but he was positive. But what about this 5? The sign to the left of him is negative. So if you were to do that, I'll do it one more time. If you were to do it out of order, but do it correctly, you would have to say that doing this part right here is not 14 minus 5 plus 2, but you take this minus 5 and it becomes a negative 5. Negative 5 plus a 2, okay, negative 5 plus 2 is negative 3. So now we have a 14 and a negative 3, otherwise known as 14 minus 3, and we get 11. And that would also be correct. But this takes a little more kind of thinking, and not that thinking's bad, but like, you know, gotta really, really be sure you know what you're doing. So this is why I always say go in order. Do 14 minus 5, get your 9, then add the 2, and you have 11, and you're done. So we'll call that whole thing, you know, there, item number 1, the basics of GEMDAS. And now we're gonna learn about evaluating. Okay, some expressions and use what we learned. So let's take 8 times, we'll do 17 minus 2.3. How about that? Okay, so, well, order of operations starts with G, grouping symbols. And I have a parentheses here, and a set of parentheses. Well, that is a type of grouping symbol. So let's do what's in the grouping symbol first. So that would give me then 8 parentheses, 14.7. And so then I just need to, well, let's see. I still have parentheses, but is there anything to do inside the parentheses? No, there's no multiplication, division, addition, or subtraction in here, or exponents. So really this is just like saying 4 times 14.7, 4 times 14.7, which we would then do, and then let's see, 14.7 times 8 would get you 117.6. Okay, and that would be your answer right there. So why don't you guys pause the video and I want you to try this one. Try that. Alright, so hopefully you remember that a fraction bar is a type of grouping symbol. So what that means is that we have to do what's on top first, then on bottom, and then we'll move on. So 14 plus 6 will give me 20. 12 minus 7 would be 5. Now that I have no more operations or exponents up here, and no more operations or exponents down there, I can do, okay, well, let's see, 20 over 5, that means 20 divided by 5, and that is, of course, 4, and then you'd be done. So now I want you guys to try this one. A little bit trickier, but I think you can do it. Pause the video, give it a good shot, and then we'll see how you do. Okay, so when I look at this thing, I see, well, I see brackets, I see parentheses, exponents. I got a lot going on. But you know what? That's why we have GEMDAS. Remember, keep calm and remember GEMDAS. So, grouping symbols first. And when we look to the grouping symbols, if we have more than one set, which we do because we have parentheses here but brackets here, we're going to move to the innermost set. Okay? So I'm going to rewrite everything, almost everything. 36 minus, then I know this, I'm going to do something inside those parentheses. Then I have that other bracket. So what do I do in the parentheses? Well, here, once I get inside this grouping symbol, I'm going to start back at GEMDAS again and say, okay, well, I have addition here. I also have exponent. What comes first, exponents or addition? Well, of course, exponents. So this is going to become 13 plus 9. All right, so then let's rewrite. We're going to evaluate another step. Next is going to come, well, see, I still have the innermost parentheses to deal with. So it's going to be 36 minus, and then whatever's in the parentheses, bracket. So 13 plus 9, well, 13 plus 9, that's going to get you 22, right? Okay, so keep on moving. I got 5, and then, well, let's see, 36 minus, then 22 in parentheses. So actually, if you just have minus whatever in the parentheses, you can just rewrite it as 5, and then I'm just going to use one set of parentheses here because I don't need the brackets anymore. Because now all I have left to do is take the 36 minus 22. Okay. Now, if that's confusing and you really want to leave the brackets, I'm kind of okay with that, but I really want you to understand that when you just have this to do, you don't need 2 sets of grouping symbols like we had up here. Okay, and when you only have one set of grouping symbols, you use parentheses. So now, let's see, well, grouping symbols need to do what's inside them first. So 36 minus a 22 is going to get you what? Well, of course, it's going to get you 14. Okay, so then our last step is, well, 5 parentheses 14. That means multiply, and 5 times 14, that gets you 70, and you are done. All right, so order of operations, is important, but it's important for a reason, okay? And that is we use it every day, really kind of without knowing it. But let's talk about structuring an equation based on some information, right, that helps us use order of operations correctly. All right, so let's say you're going to start playing disc golf. I personally love disc golf, play it all the time. It's a lot of fun. It's also cheap. I don't have to buy clubs. I just buy discs, and they're relatively inexpensive. So you got this guy thrown over the water. Hopefully it doesn't go in. Maybe it will. If it does, too bad. So let's say you're going out, you're going to play disc golf, and you're like, well, I should probably pick up maybe 3 discs. Hopefully I don't lose any, but if I do, I have extra, and I'll pick up a couple water bottles. Okay, so what's your total cost going to be? Well, if we're going to structure and create an equation, and this is going to be item number 5, sorry about that. If we're going to structure and create an equation, well, it's always best to think about, is there a total involved? Yeah, or total cost. But how do we get to the total cost? Well, let's see, I'm buying discs and water bottles. Now, how many discs am I buying? Well, I'm buying 3. So how much are they? Let's say this is a Champion Mamba. That one's probably, I don't know. We'll say $10.99. Okay, and the water bottle we'll say is just 99 cents. Okay. So how will we structure an equation to figure out the cost, the total cost? Well, we're buying 3 discs. So should I do $10.99 plus $10.99 plus $10.99? Now, probably better just to do 3 times $10.99, right? But of course, we're adding to that cost the water bottles, and we're buying 2 water bottles at a cost of 99 cents a piece. Now, this is why it's important to obey order of operations, because if I were to add $10.99 and 2 first, I'd be in a lot of trouble, right? So without even knowing it, on a daily basis, we figure out problems by using order of operations. And of course, you now know, or knew from before, that we need to do this part first. So 3 times $10.99. Well, that's like taking 3 times 11, pretty close, which of course would be 33. Then you take away 3 cents, and you get 32.97. Then of course, we're going to add to that this cost. Well, 2 times, 0.99, it's like almost $2 minus 2 cents, so that'd give you $1.98. And so then last, all we have left to do is addition. Now it's important to see here, if I have multiplication there and multiplication there, I can do it in the same step. It's okay. Now some people would rather just do this part first, then rewrite plus 2 times 0.99, but you don't have to. And then of course in the end, if you add 32.97 to $1.98, you get $34.95, and that is your total cost. Right? And if you never lose any discs, man, you just keep using the same disc over and over and over. This is why I like to play it, because it's cheap and it's a lot of fun. So that is order of operations in real life. I have nothing else for you on this video. I look forward to seeing you guys in class.